Half an hour after leaving the hospital, the car finally arrived at Sophie's house. Elder Frank left promptly after dropping off Jacob and his grandmother, Louise, at the door. Helen heard the car and hurried out to welcome them. Grandma was delighted to see Helen, and her mood perked up as soon as she saw her greeting them at the door.
"I can't believe I'm troubling you again after all the inconveniences I caused you in the past few days," she said. "Well, it's really no trouble at all. We are a family, and it was our duty."
Helen took her hand and led her into the house. Grandma had visited Sophie's house for the first time. She looked around and saw the luxurious interiors and the expensive rugs and immediately understood that Helen's family was very well off. In fact, she had a vague idea of their wealth from the fancy car they had sent to pick her up. "Hello. Welcome to our home." Dracon walked out of his study and came to greet them with a smile. Grandma had never seen Dracon before, but she understood that he must be Helen's husband. She nodded at him with a smile. After thinking for a few minutes, she said,
"Your home is so beautiful, and Helen has been so sweet, but I think I'd better not stay here." "Why? What's wrong?"
Helen anxiously looked around. Louise was from the countryside and lived a very simple lifestyle. She got uncomfortable just looking at their lavish home. The thought of living there didn't sit right with her.
"Grandma."
Hearing everyone's voices from downstairs, Sophie, dressed in a simple white shirt and a pair of denim shorts, ran down. She looked like an energetic little white dragon jumping out of the water. She was happy that she was going to spend more time with Jacob's grandmother. All the insecurities Jacob's grandma had about staying in a rich household melted away when she saw Sophie. She was charmed by Sophie's innocent smile. She took her in her arms and patted her head. She said, with a smile, "I wish I had more time after I got out of the hospital. I wanted to get you something."
"I don't want any gifts, Grandma. You just get well soon,"
Sophie said sweetly. She meant what she said. She had been quite concerned about Jacob ever since Grandma was taken to the hospital. She had never seen him so anxious and so lost. She didn't want to see him like that ever again.
"Louise, please stay with us,"
Helen urged again. Letting Sophie go from the embrace, Grandma hesitated and said,
"Well, fine. I'm just afraid of disrupting your beautiful home."
"It is an honor for us to have you here. Now, let's sit down for lunch," said Dracon, dismissing her concerns at once. Jacob saw the delicious food on the table and realized that he was starving. He helped his grandma to the table. There was a reclining chair added to the table already, and the five of them sat down and had lunch in high spirits. After all of these gestures, Jacob became extremely grateful to Sophie's family. Even if they could find another solution to the inevitable problem between him and Sophie, he would never forget this great favor that Helen and Dracon had done for him. He never had anyone care for him so much, other than his grandmother. After lunch, Helen helped Louise to get settled in her room. Jacob and Sophie were put in charge of cleaning up after lunch while Dracon left for work. Sophie stood next to Jacob in the kitchen while washing the dishes. However, she was not very good at what she was doing, as none of the plates she washed came out clean, so Jacob had to wash them again. "Thank you for everything you did," Jacob said as he re-washed the plates. Sophie pursed her lips.
"I didn't do anything."
Jacob smiled and said, "Do you want to do something this afternoon?"
"Actually, I already have plans to go shopping with my friend. I'm sorry,"
Sophie told him with an apologetic face. She would have canceled her plans, but she really needed to get some things.
"Oh, it's okay. Have fun,"
Jacob said with a fake smile. Disappointed, he shook his head and continued washing the dishes. Sophie left the kitchen as she had to get ready. After shopping, her friend insisted that she stay the night as it was the weekend. Sophie had no reason to deny it, so she just informed her parents. Jacob stayed the night at Sophie's home to keep his grandma company and to help her settle in. The next day was Sunday, and he returned to his college in the evening after making sure that his grandma was comfortable. On Monday morning, Jacob carried a stack of books that he had borrowed from the university library to return them. After returning the books, he issued some new ones. He loved reading. It used to be his only hobby. But now, between tutoring Sophie and cultivating, he hardly had any time left for himself. He was about to walk out of the library, lost in his thoughts. As he approached the door, he happened to see Kathy sitting at one of the tables studying. She seemed to have sensed his presence as she looked up and saw him standing at the door, looking at her. Jacob smiled and nodded at her before stepping out with the freshly borrowed books in his arms. As he headed to his dorm, he heard rushed footsteps behind him. He stopped to turn and saw Kathy trying to catch up with him. She had hurriedly closed her books and was carrying them haphazardly.
"Jacob, wait! I need to talk to you."
Kathy ran so fast that she almost tripped over the steps outside the library and landed in Jacob's arms. She steadied herself to look at him. Her face had turned red because of the run. She panted and said,
"Are you going back to your dorm?" "Yeah."
Jacob looked at her, confused.
I'm heading back to my dorm, too,"
Kathy said while huffing.
"Oh, let's walk back together,"
Jacob suggested. He was still confused by her behavior, but decided not to ask. Dressed in a pink t-shirt, a pair of denim shorts, and green canvas shoes, Kathy looked like the girl next door. To Jacob, she had a flawless personality and was the prettiest girl in the university. Seeing Jacob staring at her, Kathy blushed and said,
"Let's go."
"All right," Jacob said as he walked with her. They climbed down the steps and walked through the long corridors. The sun was shining and the weather was pleasant. They walked for a few minutes in silence before Kathy asked,
"How is your grandma?"
"She's fine now," Jacob said after a brief pause. "Thank you for asking." Kathy lowered her head and asked, after a few seconds,
"What is going on between you and Susan?"
"She's my cousin." Jacob forced himself to tell the lie.
"Last Thursday, I saw you go into her office,"
said Kathy. Jacob turned to look at her. Susan had mentioned that he was being followed by a girl, and he now realized that it was Kathy. He thought on his feet and said, "Oh, that. I had a couple of doubts from the last class she taught."
"Oh, so she tutored you privately,"
Kathy said while nodding. It made sense for him to have a little privilege being related to the teacher.
"Well,"
Jacob said as he smiled, "she did technically tutor him, just not in academics."
"Any more questions?"
Jacob asked once Kathy stopped talking.
"No,"
Kathy said, shaking her head. As they continued to walk silently, Jacob quietly looked at Kathy's face and thought how cute she was and how smoothly her tresses fell on her face. Our university welcomes renowned biologist Walter Brown and meteorologist Mila Brown. A blue banner hanging over the top of the cafeteria declared in big, bold letters. Looking up at the banner, Kathy exclaimed,
"I didn't expect our college would invite reputed experts like them to give guest lectures here."
"Oh, do you know them?" Jacob was surprised. Kathy was surprised at Jacob's ignorance and said,
"How can anyone not know them? Walter Brown is America's famous biologist. The media says he is the most promising candidate for the Nobel Prize in Biology for his paper on transcription of genetic information." She went on, "He is one of the greatest scientists in the country. Besides, he is very young. He must be in his 40s. His papers have been published in all kinds of science magazines, and he is in the news frequently. Haven't you heard of him at all?"
Looking at her serious expression, as if she was giving a lecture to a student, Jacob had an urge to laugh, but was trying really hard not to. Kathy rolled her eyes and said,
"All you guys know is how to play online games, watching movies, or reading comic books. You don't care a bit about the world around you. If you and your friends keep going like this, you will be left behind by the world."
Seeing her all riled up, Jacob had to give in.
Okay, now I'll remember his name," he said.
"Good." Kathy was satisfied.
"It would be shameful if you knew nothing about such a famous scientist. Besides, you might just be related to him."
"What?" Jacob asked in confusion.
"You share the same surname. It could be true, couldn't it?" said Kathy.
Jacob chuckled. "I didn't know you were a fan of Walter Brown."
"Be respectful."
Kathy was beginning to get all worked up again.
Yeah.
Jacob didn't want to argue with her. He surrendered and said,
So, I guess you will definitely go to the lecture this Thursday. Of course. And this time, Mr. Brown isn't alone. His wife will be here too. This is a rare opportunity for us undergraduates. As academics, he and his wife are usually so busy with their research that they rarely show their faces in public. I wonder how the school managed to invite them both to give lectures. It is a rare opportunity for even medical students. Kathy was excited about the lecture and the orators. She had been a straight-A student since elementary school. As a result, her admiration of scientists was understandable. Jacob found it amusing as Kathy went on and on about the scientists. Kathy caught on to that. She got upset and said, You don't have any respect for such great scientists." Jacob was about to argue his case when his phone began to buzz. He saw it was from his roommate. He answered lazily, "I'm on my way. You can start distributing the cards, and by that time I'll be there." "It's not about the cards," he answered in an agitated voice. "Sam is in a fight with the guys from the basketball team."
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.